So, Peter Mortola, you, well, when you wrote Window Frames, it's really about Violet's work with adults. It happened to be the training, but we know how experiential her training was. It was just life-changing for me in my life. And you're going to take, Peter, you're going to take a couple minutes, and we will highlight more of this in future meetings, but you're going to take a couple minutes, please, just to share how everything that Masha presented and all these comments sort of go with the data you've collected.
Yeah, thank you, Karen. And I just really want to underline what Masa has been presenting, because I've asked some of the very same questions of the adults that I've been working with. So Masha's questions were, is it relevant to my current life situation? Did it help me see and understand myself and my parts better? So I'll just take a couple minutes, and I was trying to share my screen but couldn't, but Lynn came to the rescue and she's going to share her screen. And I just have a few slides with some data points on them.
Well, thanks to you both.
Yeah. So I teach this class called Play Becomes Real, and that's really become my theme about Violet's work, is I'm just fascinated by this idea of the way that something so playful and pretend can become so life real. So Lynn, next one, please. So, like, for example, with a child, we know that play becomes real. Like Serena says, I'm this rose. I represent love and caring, and people take care of me. These thorns protect me from getting picked. People admire me for being beautiful. And I say, how is it being a beautiful rose? And she says, well, that's a good thing and a bad thing. Good in that I'm loved, bad in that people can be using me. And I say, how are you like this rose in your own life? The famous Violet question. And she says, the thorns are like my parents who are overprotective. I also get complimented for being caring a lot. So I've seen it become real with children so much. Next one, please, Lynn. So I started asking, well, actually, this was some of the data that I collected with adolescents. I asked, when I talked as if I was the plant in my drawing, the things I said about my plant connected to my own life. And you can see that one person said not at all, and 13 people said some, and 14 people said a lot, and 15 people said very much so. And so the average for kids has been about 2.0 in my data collection, which is a lot. Next one, please. So then I started asking these questions of adults. As a client this week, my play, that is my as if experience, became real, related to content from my own life. And as a client, this practice was helpful in providing me with awareness, insights, possibilities, and options. I just think that's so interesting that Mas and I came up with almost identical questions there. And then I also asked them, as a therapist, when you're practicing, because these are people practicing therapy with adult clients. So these are actually students that I'm working with, and those are the clients, but they're in a client role much as we are. So as a therapist, I found this work to be helpful or effective. So could you, next one, please, Lynn. So you can see that I have 3 different media here: cards, drawing, and clay. Ask those same questions. And if you look in the far right-hand column, you'll see the averages over time. It's been pretty surprising to me. This is actually just my class this month, 2.1, 2.0. So it's all substantial, right? At least substantially on average, play becomes real and is helpful. But I also collected this data over time. So next one, Lynn, sorry. This is 181 grad students at Lewis and Clark asking these 3 questions. And you can see that, again, it's between substantially or profoundly so that this work becomes real for me and helpful and effective. And then I asked people in different countries, and that's the next slide. And so I found that it's specifically, or particularly in Mexico, really robust play becomes real. And I asked them that question, like, what do you think it is about cultural difference that this Oaklander work is so effective? And again, that's just such an interesting question to me. So just, I think that's the last slide. Is that right, Lynn?
Yep.
Yeah, so I just have 3 real quick points to say what I've learned from this. So I do think, just like with kids, the Oaklander approach engages adults in their own process. I think it does so across media. So whether it's cards or sand tray or clay or puppets. But I think this is what's really the key finding for me is that therefore it's not about the media so much. It's more about the method. It's more about this approach. It doesn't matter what media we happen to be using. It seems to be pretty equally effective and engaging for both children and adults because it's the Oaklander method. That's all I wanted to share. Thanks, Karen.
That's all. Just how clinically and statistically significant it is, and how much data you've gathered over time. That's actually in a few minutes quite a bit. So thank you.
Yeah.
And
I'm fascinated by that there's this consistency no matter which group I've asked of adults. It's basically, because you don't know whether people, when you ask them to do a sand tray or whatever, you really don't know what their experience is, right? You hear comments like, that was amazing. But when I've asked people to actually operationalize it with numbers, it comes up really consistently across time that play gets substantially real.
And Peter, it's so interesting because my numbers are almost the same.
Really? Yeah, you
Yes,
have a 4-point scale as well.
yes, yeah. I mean, my points are 3 point, I
Yeah.
think 3 or 3.4, something like that. So it's really great.
Who knew?
okay, research study, let's go. Um, easy for me to say. Okay. So any last thoughts? I have a very quick video for our closure. And I want to thank everyone for being here, Max for always helping, and Masha for this just wonderful presentation and opportunity for us to talk about the expanded and continued use of Violet's work, and Peter for sharing what you do, and for everyone to be here.